YouTube, what are you doing? What are you doing out there, invisible people? All my imaginary friends on YouTube, what's up, guys? Look at all these names. Whoa! Bong Flash is first. Bong Flash just likes me to read his name. And I just like to read his name because it sounds so funny. Bong Flash. It's like a demented superhero. Heather Anderson, what's up? In Florida. Heather Anderson says, hello from Florida, by the way. Purchased your wife's amazing book yesterday. Well, thank you, Heather Anderson. Brian Street, what's up, man? Keto with Honey Bunny is back. What's up, Keto with Honey Bunny? Dustin Mitchell, Elizabeth, Frederick John Tang. We got Santa Barbara, Oklahoma in the Heezy, says Dustin Mitchell. Maricela Mesa. Que pasó, Maricela? Kais Arshil. What's up, bud? Keith Williams. Keith Williams says, hello from a completely flooded out Houston. Had to wade in chest deep water with my 1 and 4-year-old, but we're okay. Yeah, I haven't been paying much attention to the propaganda corporate news media. So, I mean, the images, I've seen a few images of what's going on in Houston. I'm so taken back. I mean, it looks just incredible. I mean, some of these images are crazy. We're talking chest high water in neighborhoods. Yeah, it was a hurricane. Yeah. Una larga. Un grande. Longer. Yeah, so everybody out in the Houston area, to everybody in Texas, our thoughts go out to you. We hope everything's okay. And yeah, stay safe out there, guys. Stay dry. All shall pass. Isn't nature amazing? Isn't it amazing how nature does not care about our plans? Nature does not care what we want to do today. These cycles just keep going. Heather Anderson, what's up, Heather? We've got Michigan checking in. Christopher Michaels. Kais Arshel says, Tristan, have you ever considered stand-up? I used to do I used to be really into like comedy and stuff when I was younger. Not anymore. I'm not so interested. Madden Mutt fella, what's up, man? Briar Rose. What's up, Briar? Wait, how's my audio? You guys can hear me, right? Y'all can hear me? Y'all can see me? All right. Marcelo Mesa, what's up? Bettel123 Bettel. David BL in Germany. David says, hello, do you soak your flax before further processing? If you do, how do you dry it? Now, that's an interesting question. All right, so soaking and sprouting of nuts. This is something that is kind of like a cyclical thing with popularity. A lot of people get very interested in soaking and sprouting nuts. Some people say they can't see me. Can you guys see me? My video should be working. I think you could see me. Anyway, soaking and sprouting nuts. So nuts and seeds and most plant foods, as you know, have anti-nutrients in them that make them difficult to digest. And that's kind of their defense mechanism from being digested by big mammals like us. So, sorry, I'm being distracted. Kids crying, meat being packed into a fridge and a freezer. So soaking and sprouting nuts is a way to unlock some of the enzymatic activity that is, kind of encased in these beautiful little creations and make them more digestible, more assimilable, and kind of remove some of the anti-nutrients that are there, phytates and whatnot. Now it's soaking and sprouting is really popular in like the Weston A. Price Foundation stuff. Also, about 10 years ago when we started getting interested in healthy diet, the raw food diet was really big, right? So raw, fresh fruits and vegetables was like kind of the dogma behind that one. Sprouting and soaking nuts was something that we were doing back then. We were experimenting with these modalities. So we're pretty familiar with soaking and sprouting nuts. I remember we bought a dehydrator back in 2008. Bought our Excalibur 9-tray dehydrator, and we used to dry almonds and walnuts and stuff like that. But flax seeds, you can't really soak and sprout flax seeds. You can sprout them, but what happens when you put flax in water, it just turns really gelatinous. Same with chia. So, I don't know. Now, you guys can't hear that, but Jessica's chirping, and she says, she doesn't like that I said chirping. I think it's a pretty word. She's chirping. Good. Chirp, chirp. Oh, she's chirp, chirp. She's making fun of me now. So, flax seeds, they get all sticky when you soak them. Now, Briar Rose says still no video or audio. Wait, what's going on here? Loads of people say it's fine. Other people say they can't hear or see me. I have no idea what you're talking about, guys. Let me see if I can pull up. Video and audio look fine to me when I pull this up in another browser. We're good. We're live. We're streaming. If video and audio are not working for you, I don't know what to say. Anyways, soaking and sprouting flax is not going to happen. But when you soak flax, it gets really gelatinous, and you can make stuff like crackers. If you look in the Ketogenic Edge cookbook, there is a delicious recipe for, I think they're called like micronutrient flax crackers. There's several recipes for flax-based crackers in there, and that's something that we've been making for years. There's a million different variations that one can do on flax crackers. You can even make them more sweet, like a cinnamon-based one with raisins for kids, not on a ketogenic diet, but some keto-friendly ones using lots of vegetable fiber, even green powders mixed in with certain flavors and spices with soaked flaxseed that's ground up and then dried in a dehydrator can be a delicious way to preserve nutrient-dense foods that you can bring on the go with you. For people trying to get more micronutrients in, this can be a really great way to do it. So, yeah, that's what's up with flax. Soaking and sprouting it, not really that easy, but it does have its purpose. Soaking flax and actually hydrating it and then drying it into crackers can be great. So check out the Ketogenic Edge cookbook for that. There's actually several ideas and recipes on how to use flax to kind of demonstrate these methods for you in there. And that's why we call it a training manual, because we try to demonstrate and transmit kind of, the knowledge that we've accumulated over the years to help you basically become self-sustained in your kitchen. Because as we all know, if you're trying to make lasting changes in your body, in your health, then taking self-responsibility is key. We got to take responsibility for making our own foods. We got to learn how to make nutrient-dense, whole foods-based stuff that we can enjoy, that we can eat in a pinch, and that we can make rather quickly as well. So training yourself in your kitchen is crucial. It's not just, go train your body, physical training, lifting weights, stuff like that is not where a healthy body is made. And there's the classic tome of abs are not made in the gym, abs are made in the kitchen. Andrew says, if you could have one superpower, what would it be and how would you want to use it? Dustin Mitchell says, he who pulleth Excalibur from the stone, he shall have dehydrated meat. That's cool. Brian Street says audio and video are working fine. Stanislava says it's working fine. We got people in North Texas. You guys are safe in North Texas, right? Philadelphia, Pennsylvania can hear me. What's up, Philly? All right, Elizabeth. Elizabeth knows what's up. Elizabeth says, I ground up some beef heart and added it to my meatballs, and it was so good. No one could tell it was in there. All right, this is a slippery slope, Elizabeth. Now, I've talked about before, so there's a recipe in the Ketogenic Edge cookbook for Mama's Best meatballs, and I make the suggestion all the time, and I think we even make the suggestion in the book. But we definitely go over these strategies in the book of how to get more nutrient density in our meals. Now, heart and liver and other organs can be the most nutrient dense parts of the animal. In fact, the heart and the liver are some of the most sought after parts of the animal in nature. People get obsessed with the muscle meat, the lean meat. It's sought after. That's what people crave now, not because it's better, not because it's healthier, not because it's got more nutrition in it, but in my opinion, it's just cultural phenomenon. It became looked down upon to consume organ meats. They were looked at as like the cuts of the poor, the paupers, the epsilons, or what are they called in 1984? I forget. But anyways, heart and liver are some of the best parts of the animal. If you look at any apex predator, wolves, anything like that, they go for the heart and the liver first. There's that really cool scene in that film, The Revenant, where he hadn't eaten in days. He got beat up, mauled by a bear, and the first contact with another human he has after his great betrayal was with an Indian who had just slayed a buffalo. He walks up to him all craven and hungry, and the guy throws him a big slab of raw liver. and the guy just starts munching the raw liver. I mean, I'm just saying this to illustrate, this is a film, fake, Hollywood, obviously, but it does illustrate a real phenomenon, is that it is indigenous populations, hunter-gatherer tribes, as well as other apex predators that are non-human, all prefer liver and heart before muscle meat, bar none. You look at lions and these apex predators, they will leave the lean muscle meat for the hyenas and eat the liver, the organs, brain, and the guts. I'm not saying we should do that, but the heart is a great source of nutrition for human beings, and it's actually pretty lean meat, and it tastes amazing ground up and prepared just like any other ground beef. So if you're going to make like taco meat, something like that, basic recipes, using 50% heart is a great little trick you can use to get more nutrient density in your family's diet and your own diet. Heart's a really good source of coenzyme Q10, actually a better source than almost any other food out there. And it tastes better than normal meat, in my opinion. I mean, we make meatballs now of all heart. When we do meatballs, we don't even use any ground beef. We use straight heart, beef heart meatballs. We've kind of transitioned over years of experimenting, and that's what we all crave now. The texture, the taste, how you feel from it is all superior to the muscle meats. But to start out as like a gateway drug to the organ meats, take Mama's Best Meatball Recipe from the Ketogenic Edge Cookbook, a training manual for low carb, ketogenic, and paleo cuisine. And you can find a link to that in the description here. It's available only on our website. And that recipe might even be on our website for free. Did you put that recipe up on our website, babe? There's beef heart burgers on the recipe. You can actually modify that one and make them into meatballs very easily with whatever spices you want. If you didn't want to buy the book, if you're skeptical, if you don't want to, if you don't have money to spend on something like that, use that recipe from the website and do 50% beef heart. It's super delicious. And you use the keto flatbreads, which we've got that recipe up on our website as well. As we've also done several videos with that recipe. So you can use those as the bun on the burgers, or you can make meatball sandwiches, something like that with the heart, and it's delicious. Elizabeth, thanks for the comment. Glad you like it. Mutant Stoner says audio and video is fine for me. Right on. Tree Thunder, what's up, man? Dustin, Mitchell, Brian, Ray Greenwood, Andrew Homeblad, what's up? Bettle123 Bettle. We got regulars here. James says 2 days of live Q&A in a row. Nice. Yeah, I had several weeks. Actually, it seemed like a couple months of just high output of doing a lot of stuff, maybe doing too much stuff. So I've slowed it down. I've downshifted, and I'm taking it a little bit more slow. Tamara Dahl says, yo, from Lake Tahoe, are there any good surf spots in Ecuador? Yes. Many gems, completely unknown to most people. Beaches that are pristine, not all of them, but lots of pristine beaches. Oh, I see a little. Get out of there. All right, teeth clean now. Pristine beaches. Tamara, I'll say this. Ayampe. Check out a place called Ayampe. Bungalows La Buena Vida. Shout out to Keith and Marilyn in Ayampe. They've got a great spot. Keith is a guy from New York, surfer all of his life, and saved up everything he could, moved down to Ecuador. Similar story to us. His wife is Ecuadorian, and they started a little hosteria there in a place called Ayampe, and it's an amazing surf spot. Just incredible beach break, and there's all kinds of breaks all around there. So, yes, surfing in Ecuador, buenísimo. All right, David, what's up? Deborah, hello. Okay. Dun, 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 dun. All right. Mutant Stoner says, I recently heard flax had estrogen in it. All right. Flax has some things that can bind to estrogen receptors called lignans. Now, it's hotly debated whether this is beneficial or unbeneficial in the context of cancers and stuff like that. All foods in moderation, I think, are not a problem. Except, there's certain things that I avoid across the board. I stay away from grains in general, wheat, stuff like that. Most non-organic foods I try to avoid. Anything with heavy glyphosate contamination, I try to avoid in general. But, all things in moderation. Flaxseed. I am of the opinion that flaxseed suits my body well. If I overeat anything, especially loads and loads of fiber, loads and loads of flax, I can get a little funkiness in the gut there. But I am not concerned with the lignan content. And flax has been shown or has been touted for years as an anti-breast cancer food because these lignans will actually bind up the estrogen receptors, blocking other phytoestrogens and other chemicals from actually blocking it and creating issues. Now, there's people on both sides who will argue either direction. So I'm not going to give you a dogmatic answer. I'm not going to give you a everybody else is wrong and I'm right answer. But look more into lignans. Look more into the studies on flaxseed for breast cancer, stuff like that. The role of dietary lignans and phytoestrogens, xenoestrogens, and stuff like that. I like flax. I eat flax. Doesn't seem to bother me at all. Media Glitch, what's up, man? Media Glitch says, I'm down 37 pounds thanks to your channel and your book. Thanks, man. Hey, Media Glitch. Congratulations, man. 37 pounds? That's crazy. That's like a third of a human, right? That's as much as my 5-year-old daughter weighs. A little bit less than she weighs. All right. Heather Anderson says, I changed from watching you on my phone to watching you on the computer, and I can see and hear you clearly. So perhaps if you're trying to watch live on the phone, it doesn't work. Perhaps on those devices, you can't watch live things. Bettel says, is flaxseed bad for men lowering testosterone? I've never seen anything about flaxseed lowering testosterone. Of course, anything out of control, high intake, any macronutrient, any micronutrient, any food, if you're eating it all the time, way too much of it, can cause imbalances. It's all about balance. All right. Tree Thunder says, oh, well, looks like a no-go. Okay. Michael Williams in Norway. What's up, man? All right. David, what's up? Dun, 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 dun. All right. Esther says, question. I'm 36 years old with arthrosis. I know that collagen and protein is important for my joints. Can I do keto? Is it recommended for optimal health in my case? Look, I mean, you give one piece of information and you can't expect somebody to be able to give you a comprehensive breakdown about what would be an optimal diet in your situation. So you're saying you have arthritis, you get joint pain issues, you're thinking more collagen in your diet could be beneficial. I think that for a lot of people, this can ring very true. And fixing the gut can be a huge step towards reducing inflammation. Broths, bone broth made from grass-fed, and I really want to stress grass-fed because of the contamination of glyphosate in collagen. Now, animals tend to store toxins in certain places. Glyphosate has been known to be very similar in form to glycine. And it's been postulated that glyphosate can be stored, and it's actually it's been studied. Animals store glyphosate a lot in their collagen networks in their body. So when they're consuming a lot of this stuff, the body doesn't know what to do with it. It creates all kinds of damage. Glyphosate being a toxic, it's actually patented as an antibiotic because it binds up minerals in the soil and allows genetically modified crops to grow in abundance where no other food will grow. So you poison the soil with glyphosate, then you put the GMO BT corn seeds in there that you have to keep buying every year again and again from Monsanto, who's now partnered with Bayer, formerly IG Farben, producers of Zyklon B. You can look at the history of IG Farben, the Nuremberg trials, and all this. They now own Monsanto. They bought it for $66 billion. So Monsanto and now Bayer Pharmaceutical, who gets to make money medicating you for the diseases that Monsanto creates through the disruption of the gut microbiome, the destruction of our soil microbiome, and the consolidation of a toxic food supply into the hands of very few corporations like Monsanto, Kraft, General Mills, stuff like that. This creates lots of issues. And when you're feeding cattle all this grain that's soaked in glyphosate, they tend to accumulate a lot in their collagen. So use grass-fed collagen. Use grass-fed bones in your bone broth so you're not getting extra contamination there since you're trying to heal inflammation, right? It's known that glyphosate can interrupt the microvilli in your gut. We've got all these little nodules called microvilli that can open up and allow holes in the blood-brain barrier. So when those microvilli open up, we can get particles, food particles, toxic crap breaking through that barrier and entering into our bloodstream, which our immune system will have to attack and remove. So this creates lots of issues. Reducing inflammation can be a huge step. Now, notice I haven't said anything about a ketogenic diet so far because a ketogenic diet isn't strictly necessary to get the body to optimal health. For some people, it can be a huge step. And in my case, for reducing inflammation, for reducing joint pain, which I've had nearly all my life, I grew up with a twisted spine, twisted little man. I had diagnosed with scoliosis when I was in 7th grade. Lots of skeletal imbalances and muscular imbalances from a mostly sedentary lifestyle. I mean, think about what our lifestyle is growing up. We're sitting in schools with poor posture, slumped over a desk, waiting to get out of this classroom until the bell rings with the Pavlovian response, ding, 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 time to eat, little animals, time to eat, little slaves. And then you move on to the next task. 1 hour sitting in a chair, taking it to the face with the lies that are constantly being told to us in our broken education indoctrination system. This can create problems in the body. So I got lots of issues in my joints. I treated my body poorly for years with bad diet, didn't know what to do, didn't know how to nourish myself. So a ketogenic diet has been a huge step for reducing my inflammation, for improving my gut health, for improving the health of every single system in my body. And I definitely have experienced the benefits of reducing inflammation and reducing chronic pain through a ketogenic diet. If you look at some of my interviews, I talked to a guy named Phil Escott. Shout out to Phil. Haven't heard from you in years. So yeah, Phil Escott, look at my interviews with him. He was treating arthritis using a very low carbohydrate diet and other lifestyle changes to reduce stress and inflammation. Because remember, it's not just stress from the diet or stress from toxic load from glyphosate, stress from zonulin in wheat, opening up those microvilli and creating these openings for these particles to enter. It's not just those stresses. There's also just the psychological stresses that we subject ourselves to, I mean, looking at social media all the time, worrying about what people think about you, these little micro stressors that we've allowed ourselves to be programmed with must be considered when we're looking to change our life and change our body. Because your body is a reflection of the choices that we make day by day. And those choices we make day by day are influenced by the programs that we're running in our mind, our heart, and our soul. So to actually change the body actually gets, I'm not going to say complicated, but it goes deeper than just, I eat this food and I don't eat that food. Because yeah, that stuff can work for a while. But when we're dealing with chronic stress, when we're dealing with, chronic states of inflammation and, autoimmune conditions, we've got to look at the root causes of our stress and what puts us in that state of stress throughout the day. And we have to mitigate that and change our mind and our habits. And then our body will start to reflect healthy mind and healthy habits. Our environment will start to reflect it. The things we keep around us will start to reflect it. Your eyes will start to reflect it. Your voice will start to reflect it. Your whole being will emanate that. So we got to go down to the essence of it. We got to get down to the primal essence of what it is to be human. It's far beyond just, I eat these foods or I don't eat that foods, those foods, that foods, or like I play football and I don't like baseball. I like this team and not that team. I'm a Democrat, a Republican, all this stuff. Got to go further than that. Got to look deeper than the nonsense on the surface. Andrew says 270 pounds down to 250. Gained 1.5% LBM all in the last 3 months with the help of your channel's tips and info. Also doing intermittent fasting and weight training 3 times per week and cardio 3 to 4 days a week. Andrew, that's rad, man. That's so cool. It's surreal to me sometimes, right? Because I see your guys' words here, but I don't see your faces. I don't feel you in my presence. And that's fantastic, man. It's cool when I work with clients and I get to actually talk to people and see their eyes and see how they change, but it's also fascinates me, you know, that somebody could watch this channel and get some information, get some little nuggets here and there, and then make decisions on their own. You know, you say with the help of my channel's tips and info. That's really cool, man. I mean, I try to do my best to give as much information here for free as I can. I really like doing these live hangouts when I can. When I'm in the right state of mind, it flows and it works well, and I'm glad I can help you, man. Keep it up. Bettle123 Bettle says loving ox liver cooked rare. Oh man, yeah, liver cooked rare, with some coriander and spices in some butter, with some salt and pepper. So good. Michael Williams, Carlos Saez, what's up, man? Good question. Carlos Saez is talking about physiological insulin resistance. He's been on keto 3 years, measuring it with blood ketones. First 2 years, his blood was 80 to 85. Last year, 95 to 100. 0.5 to 1 millimolars blood ketone. Physiological insulin resistance. Fantastic question. Insulin resistance, IR, the two dreaded letters. Insulin resistance gets blamed for, you know, diabetes and a lot of different things, inflammation, stuff like that. It's associated with these states, with these disease states. But insulin resistance is actually a natural response that your body has. There's nothing that our body does that's not a natural response to environmental stimulus or internal stimulus, right? So they've done overfeeding studies, and they find that overfeeding on different macronutrients has different effects. Overfeeding protein usually induces satiety and results in underfeeding on other macros, meaning overfeeding on protein, overfeeding in these studies usually results in reduced caloric intake. Now, overfeeding on protein doesn't seem to induce insulin resistance, either physiological or in the liver. Hepatic meaning liver. But when you overfeed on fat, you become physiologically insulin resistant. When you overfeed on fructose and glucose, when you overfeed on carbohydrate, guess what happens? You become insulin resistant in the liver. So, what is the standard American diet? It's been scrutinized. Everyone calls it, you know, the standard American diet. But you have a lot of people on both extremes, right? You got the people on the low carb dogma who say the standard American diet is a high carb diet. It's not true, in my opinion. And when you look at the studies and what the standard American diet really is, and I'll explain what I think it is, my definition. Now, okay, what was I saying? So the high carb crowd blames high fat. They say, oh, the standard American diet, it's high in fat. Look, these people are eating meat and animal products. You got to go vegan, brah. 30 bananas a day. Both of them are right. Both of them are cherry picking as well. So they're both wrong. All right, so I just explained overeating fat, physiological insulin resistance. Let's define that. Physiological insulin resistance is insulin resistance in peripheral tissues, your muscles. Your biceps doesn't need to take up a lot of glucose if fat is your source of energy. If you flood your body with dietary fat, your body is being signaled that is the energy source, right? So in the absence of carbohydrate, your body will naturally liberate fatty acids or use fatty acids from the diet to use as an energy source. Your liver will take those fatty acids. Your liver will make ketones out of those fatty acids. Now, when you're using ketones, you don't want to be soaking up glucose into your muscle tissues. You want to use those fat droplets. You want to either oxidize the fatty acids directly or use the mitochondria to burn ketones. So you become physiologically insulin resistant. Your peripheral tissues, it's also called peripheral insulin resistance. Your peripheral tissues will block the uptake of glucose. Your brain require it. And your liver will partition that glucose to where it needs to go. Now, we already talked about overfeeding carbohydrate. That results in insulin resistance in the liver, which is very, very different. It can lead to fatty liver, stuff like that. It can lead to major problems with glucose dispersal and with energy balance in the body. Insulin is not just a fat-storing hormone. That is also an oversimplification. It's kind of a quantification for energy throughout the body hormone. It does a lot of different things. including can help liberate fatty acids. Insulin signals many other responses in the body as well. So these oversimplifications of insulin bad, ketones good, insulin low, ketones high, good. These things, they're oversimplifications. And I'm not trying to complicate it. I'm just trying to paint a broader stroke for you so that you can understand why people are spreading this confusing information and where they're coming from, so that you can go deeper into it and form a synthesis yourself and understand this at a deeper level than the repeaters and the parrots, right? So the standard American diet, what are people eating? You got like Ben and Jerry's and Haagen-Dazs, you got Burger King, you got, you got the junk food, the standard junk food, high in polyunsaturated fatty acids, vegetable oils, which do cause insulin resistance as well. So you're high in polyunsaturated omega-6 oil that can cause insulin resistance, block the uptake of glucose. You're also eating high fat. So we got high fat, high carb with lots of foods that will cause insulin resistance as well, these polyunsaturated fatty acids and whatnot. Hypercaloric, super processed, loaded with toxic load. Most of the foods are corn, soy, and wheat based, right? The trinity of corporate greed food. Corn, wheat, soy, slave foods. So the standard American diet is causing both hepatic insulin resistance and physiological insulin resistance, hypercaloric conditions with way too much fat and way too much carbohydrate. So in the state of ketosis, we want physiological insulin resistance. It's actually something that's desired. We talked about earlier, the peripheral tissues don't need glucose, but the brain, parts of the brain require it. Even in the state of ketosis, your liver can actually partition it very, very well. So you don't want to be uptaking glucose in the muscles. You want to use it for the brain. In your case, not a bad thing. The first year you had 80 to 85 your blood glucose. The next year started creeping up a little bit higher. This might not necessarily be a bad thing, right? You're not pre-diabetic. It's just a little higher than when you first started out. In fact, you actually see this quite often in individuals who are using a low carbohydrate diet. Their blood glucose numbers might be like 95, 100, but the hemoglobin A1C number is usually so low. The C-reactive protein levels, these other inflammation markers are very low. That was a very long answer to your very short question. And I hope that paints a broad picture so that you can actually do some more research on your own, question what I'm saying, question why other people are saying what they say, and come up with your own basis of knowledge that you can analyze this stuff from. Remember, question everything. Question what I say. And do your own research too. Thanks for the question. Carlos Saez. Lucky Bug Creations. What's up? Lucky Bug says, I'm missing fruits. What can I eat for fruits? You can eat whatever fruits you want. If you want to do a ketogenic diet, you're not going to be eating a lot of fruits. So if fruit's your thing, you're not able to give it up. I know it can be hard in the beginning, right? It can be really, really difficult. It can be really, really difficult to get rid of sugar cravings, but actually that's the hardest part about a ketogenic diet. And in most of the studies that have shown poor results for adherence on keto, they've done it for less than 2 weeks. It takes at least 2 to 3 weeks to really get most of the deep adaptation to ketosis. Our bodies have to actually create more mitochondria to process the ketones. So we need that metabolic machinery to be generated. We need more mitochondrial density, and this takes time to generate. So you've got several things that happen when you're adapting to a ketogenic diet. You need time for the mitochondrial biogenesis to occur so you can use the ketones. In the beginning, people will be flooded with ketones. They're pissing them out all over the place, peeing on their fingers on these little stick things and say, oh, yay, it's purple. The guru online told me to pee on this. It's working. And then after a while, you actually start to use the ketones. So you're not just flooded with those excess ketones anymore. It usually gets pruned back and stays at a stable level in the blood, and you stop peeing all of them out. And hopefully you figured out by that time that you don't need to waste money measuring your urine and peeing on your fingers all day. So after a couple of weeks on a ketogenic diet, what happens? is your body will upregulate enzymes to burn fat, and you will start craving salty, savory foods. Your palate will completely be revamped. Your whole palate, your desire for sweets, it's all going to change if you stick with it. So after a few weeks, I know it can be really difficult, but after a few weeks, you'll be far better adapted to it. So please don't eat a bunch of fruit in the beginning. Don't throw yourself on that roller coaster of yo-yoing in and out of ketosis. Stay away from the fruits in the beginning. After a little while, some low glycemic fruits like berries, blueberries, strawberries, stuff like that in moderation can be fine. But it's all about context. If your goal is fat loss, then perhaps keeping those foods away, if they're trigger foods and you can overeat on them and they spark hunger, perhaps keeping those away would be a better idea. Jortha, what's up in the Netherlands? Boxa, what's up, man? Esther Galan says, thank you for your advice on my problem with arthrosis. You're such a nice and knowledgeable person who takes the time to share with us. I'll buy the book to start keto. Esther, thank you very much for the shout out. Yeah, just best of luck on your journey. Definitely check out the video with Phil Escott on my channel. He talks a lot about his use of a ketogenic diet as a therapy to reduce his inflammation, to help heal his gut, and how he noticed his gut and his arthritis symptoms were intimately connected. And I can totally relate. Mutant Stoner says, saw a video recently of an advocate for Monsanto pesticide say I know you're going to talk about the dude who they offered him and said, oh yeah, it's totally safe. He's like, okay, here you go, take a shot. And the guy's eyes go all wide and he's no way. They know this stuff is toxic, right? They're the same apologists that they use for the tobacco industry out there promoting this, saying that organic foods are bad. This is ridiculous. This is absurd. Right? I mean, this is the consolidation of the food supply into the hands of one corporation. I mean, it's the decimation of the genetic heritage of the foods that we've been eating for thousands of years. The foods that your ancestors, my ancestors, worked hard to maintain the genetic heritage of. This is the destruction of that, the wiping clean of it in the name of the mighty dollar. And it's absurd. And convenience and marketing and propaganda is pushing this. But we have a time. We have not only the ability, but also, I mean, it's a blessing to take responsibility over our health, to take responsibility over the foods we buy, over what we do with our money, over where our energy goes, right? So supporting local food producers, supporting people who care about their soil, who care about the microbiome of the soil, and thus the microbiome of our bodies and guts. Because your gut microbiome is intimately connected with the microbiome of the food that you're eating. So eating local organic foods whenever you can, fantastic. Promoting organic food production, sustainable agriculture, restorative agriculture, agriculture that is not stripping the soil of nutrition and creating a dust bowl. It is not only our right, but it's probably our responsibility to actually use our dollars wisely, right? All right, let's see. We got Missouri checking in. Jason G says, F keto, I'm way more healthier than your ass. I eat bread and shit. Jason, that's great, man. Keep eating bread and definitely keep eating shit. It's doing real well for you. Shit in, shit out, huh? All right. Mutant Stoner says, you can lose weight on a trash diet, but your body will reflect what you eat. Yeah, no, it's just what happens when you're 14 years old and you've been given a keyboard, right? You have nothing real to add. You have nothing to offer. You go and you talk shit. All right. Andrew says, I've noticed the DOMS caused by weight training is far less pronounced now that I'm keto adapted. Is this a common benefit? I would have noticed with no carbohydrate, the DOMS would be exacerbated. That is a really cool statement. Andrew, a lot of people, let's see. All right, Andrew, a lot of people have noticed the same thing. The DOMS, the soreness after workouts, seems to decrease for me as well on a ketogenic diet. It sounds like it's really cool, right? It seems like a blessing, but let's make sure to keep it in perspective. Your body gets sore for a reason, to bring attention to parts that need to heal. when that inflammation occurs after a workout, it's actually an acute inflammatory response that is desired, right? So you're creating that inflammatory response intentionally. That's why you don't want to take like an ice bath right after a resistance training workout if the goal is hypertrophy. If you're trying to build muscle, you don't want to take anti-inflammatories, take a whole bunch of turmeric right after a workout, or ice yourself. You actually want a little bit of a acute inflammatory response. Now, however, ice baths and stuff like that after a workout for improving and increasing mitochondrial density might be a good idea. So for longevity, ice baths right after workouts is cool. Probably a great idea, but for hypertrophy, it's going to stop mTOR. It's going to reduce inflammation. You don't want to do that. Keto can kind of have similar effects to cold on inflammation levels and systemic inflammation in the body. Soreness can be less. But the flip side of that, like it's really cool. Hey, I'm not so sore. Maybe I should work out more. That can be dangerous, right? We could actually end up under recovering or overtraining, but we can end up under recovering and creating lots of stress on connective tissues, on our joints, in our hips, and our shoulders and stuff like that, which is something that I've experienced at times, right? Oh, well, I'm not sore. I'm going to go hit it again. I'm trying to, increase my lift. I'm trying to build my bench press or my deadlift up. I'm not sore at all from that last workout. I'm going to do my next workout 2 days early. That can end up being an issue long term. So make sure you're recovering. It's fantastic that you can set muscle soreness and stuff like that. Also, if you're a beginner, if you're just starting out lifting weights, the DOMS stuff, the delayed onset muscle soreness, where you can't even move for a few days after a workout, that stuff tapers off. And it tends to only happen when you do movements that you've never done, or you do things at an angle or a way that you've never done them before. Then you'll get those DOMS. All right. Race Bun Williams says, garden vids anytime. Right on. All right. Let's see. All right. Vinit Mustafa says, there are rumors that keto can be detrimental to the gut microbiota after longer dieting, which can lead to insulin resistance. There are rumors. How come everybody likes to listen to rumors rather than actually exploring the mechanisms behind these things for ourselves? Keto versus gut microbiota. Anything that anybody says, a broad sweeping statement, keto is bad for your gut. Carbs are bad for your gut. Fiber is good for your gut. These are extreme statements at extreme ends of the statement or extreme ends of the spectrum that really are kind of hollow and meaningless. There's so many different types of fiber. There's so many different types of ketogenic diets. There's so many different types of carb-based diets. To say that a ketogenic diet is bad for your gut is absolute nonsense. Now, I've known many people, Andrew Scarborough included, and you know what? Phil Escott, I think, has been into this lately, who've had very good results removing all fiber from their diet in order to heal gut issues. Animal products, meats and fats, proteins and fats can be far easier on many people's guts than these super abrasive fibers. So to make an extreme statement like fiber's bad or fiber's good, it's all about context. So you could have a ketogenic diet that's perfectly formulated for you that contains a reasonable amount of soluble fiber, maybe a small amount of insoluble fiber because you might be sensitive to it, and that might be a nice balance for you. But then somebody else might be highly sensitive to fiber, not want very much fiber at all in their diet, and their inflammation levels are dropped using that methodology. So, I wish everybody wants the simple, straight BS answer. Oh, yeah, fiber is good. Or, yeah, you need to take this much apple cider vinegar every day. And for everybody, that's good. Or this is the magic elixir. You need this much of this. You need to do this diet, that diet. It's actually all about context. And there's a million different, not a million, but there's many different factors that will determine what is right in my context and your context. So keto is not detrimental to the gut microbiota in any way. There is no just one type of keto diet either. A million different types of keto diets. Some of them could be great for my gut, but what's great for my gut might not be great for your gut. Also, most of the studies done on the gut microbiome have shown, some recent ones done, pretty important, have shown that just 3 days of eating certain foods and of changing your diet can completely change the gut microbiome. Stress can also change the gut microbiome. Prolonged fasting, many different things can affect the gut microbiome profoundly. So to make a broad sweeping statement, keto good for gut microbiome or keto bad for gut microbiome is oversimplified and very misleading. And I cannot do it. I gotta tell you guys the truth. All right, John Smith, what's up, man? Mr. Grip says, Tristan, what's your favorite band? I don't know. I'm not a favorite band. I try not to pick favorites. I go through phases though, with like listening to a lot of certain artists. I don't know. I've been listening to some of like Johnny Cash's later stuff recently. It's just so nice and mellow and simple, beautiful, heartfelt music. That's why I played it at the beginning of quite a few of my videos lately. All right. Good morning from Christchurch, New Zealand, says Finding Emily. So pleased I'm catching you live. What's up? All right. Madden Mutt Fella says, I don't exercise much, but I like to walk my dogs in the morning. If I wear a sauna suit or sweater to sweat extra and maybe jog it or walk faster, would this help with weight loss? All right. Yeah, it'll help with weight loss, but that weight's going to be water. You can't sweat out fat, right? Walking your dog's fantastic. You don't exercise much. Getting out walking is fine. You start there, right? Then start picking up the pace a little bit, walking a little bit further, then maybe including some more calisthenics, starting to work on some chin-ups, push-ups, basic stuff, planks, deep breathing, keeping your stress low. I mean, for some people, intense exercise can be an added stressor that pushes them into that, their autoimmune conditions flaring up, getting gut issues, getting inflamed and feeling like crap. For other people, that same amount of exercise is what keeps them from going psychologically crazy. So it's all about finding the balance that's right for us. If you only feel like you've got enough energy to walk the dogs now, maybe just walking the dogs is fine. Maybe including a little bit of a sprint every now and then, picking up the pace, or maybe just walking backwards for 10 minutes, using the body in a different way, activating the skeletal muscle system, the tensegrity of your body in a different way could be beneficial. But just sweating won't make you lose more body fat. Sorry. Actually, though, on the opposite end of the spectrum, cold exposure to intense cold, like ice baths, stuff like that, has been shown to help increase metabolism, increase brown adipose tissue, and increase fat burning. So interesting, right? R says coffee frequency 3 times a week, fine. Yeah, you could have coffee every day. I don't care. I mean, for some people, it can be a huge crutch. And if you can't get out of bed without coffee, if you can't, move your finger or be asked to speak a coherent sentence without coffee, then something's probably off, right? You'd be patching a hole and could be burning the candle at both ends. But when you look at all the studies, I mean, somebody sent me something today about, there's a meta-analysis, of course, but basically showing how all the benefits of coffee and caffeine greatly outweigh the alarmism of, oh, coffee's bad. I'm not on either side, really. I mean, I think coffee can be great in context. I'm not against it, not for it. I had coffee about 3 or 4 times last week. It was fun. All right. Hey, sweetie. How's it going? Cool. You're making biscuits? I wish I could bring the camera down and show these people your biscuits. Bring them up if you finished when we're going on here. Charlie C says, one question. My wife is doing 16/8 intermittent fasting. She told me she feels great. Then she eats and kind of feels suboptimal. I told her she probably needs to eat more fat. Is that good advice? No. Oh man. And look, when I give an answer to a question, people don't take it personal. It's like, but the should I eat more fat thing, and I'm not making fun of you or picking on you. I understand why you believe that. But it is upsetting that people keep on putting this out there. I don't know who, like, you got certain crowds that just more fat, less protein, more fat, always eat more fat. Like it somehow is going to make you feel better, do better. Most people can't digest that much fat. Most people can't digest 200 grams of fat in a day, especially if you're trying to lose body fat. So obviously your wife doing 16/8 intermittent fasting, feeling great. but then when she eats, she feels like crap. She might be fasting too long. Some women don't respond that well to intermittent fasting. You know, I mean, across the board, women do tend to have more of a stress response to fasting than men. Now, when you do wait 16 hours to eat, sometimes the hunger is so high by the time the food hits the mouth that we're not able to regulate it that much. And then that huge insulin hit from that big bolus of food might make us feel crappy. More fat's not going to help. In fact, I'd say perhaps stopping intermittent fasting would be something to try. You know, having breakfast and an early-ish dinner, perhaps. You know, eating breakfast within 1 to 2 hours of waking up. So try to eat breakfast. You wake up at 6. Try to eat breakfast at 7, and then having dinner at like 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock in the evening will give you a nice long period of fasting, but induce satiety in the morning and cut off those stress hormones by dropping the cortisol levels. Right, that slight increase in insulin, the stability of blood sugar that comes from a bolus of protein and a little bit of fat for energy to signal your body, hey, here's your fuel source. Everything's okay. Don't stress out. And so she doesn't get so hungry throughout the day, right? So you quell the hunger early by eating breakfast, and then you end up not overeating when you do eat. So then dinner might be really small if you have a good sized breakfast. John Smith says, my dad has diabetes and brain fog at times. I told him about keto, but he's hesitant. What can I tell him to convince him to give it a go? Nothing. Really, man. I mean, it's like, it's got to be his choice. All you can do, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink, they say, right? If you're doing keto and it works for you, just sharing your experience in a non-dogmatic, non-judgmental way is probably the best way to go about it. But since it's your dad, there's going to be resistance, first of all. I mean, what father wants to take advice from his son or daughter, right? I mean, John is your name, so it's your father, right? So first of all, you got to admit to what you're really dealing with. There's going to be a layer of pride that's very difficult to penetrate there. Well, I'm your father. I'm the one who's supposed to give advice. If I take advice from you, am I less of a man? You know, it's just like false program that people run with can really block the truth from coming in. So I think the best way is to love him, to show him what you're doing, to show him that it works, and not to annoy the crap out of him or make him feel judged, right? Because if you push, he'll push back. And if you just, you can create this battle that will be unproductive for both of you. So you got to find the right angle with him. You know, you got to bait him. The carrot could be the brain fog thing, right? Like, I mean, I know that when I do a ketogenic diet and through fat adaptation, even when I eat more carbohydrates, because I do like to eat some seasonal carbohydrates occasionally. I usually don't last more than a week or two because I like how I feel on keto better. But shit, I think I've gone like a month or so carbs. Maybe I'll try to eat more carbs soon. But like I was saying, my brain fog, stuff like that, those like moments where you're just like, what the heck was I just thinking about? Completely lost in my thoughts. That happens far less. And I find I'm able to focus much better on a ketogenic diet. So maybe show them some articles on ketosis for brain health, for cognition, the increase in GABA production that comes with ketosis, and the feeling of well-being that can accompany that can be profound for a lot of people. But yeah, don't drill it into his head, because then he'll just resist. You gotta know what you're dealing with there. There's a lot of, it can be a lot of pride, and that can be hard within families. Wow, we got so many people hanging out. What's up, everybody? Little Big Head, R. Myrie, Photosense, what's up? Deborah, P. Mo. All right, P. Mo says, did you see the new European study that came out today? High-fat diets show an increase in longevity significantly more than low-fat diets. It also showed saturated fats had no impact on heart disease. You sent me that in an email, didn't you? And I did look at it. I looked at the article. It was a Telegraph article. Didn't link to the original scientific study, which mainstream media never does, right? Just, take our word for it. Don't link to the original studies. This is propaganda techniques. It's annoying sometimes when people don't link to the studies. I'm going to look more into this study. I don't know. Was it a meta-analysis? Probably was meta, right? It's great. I believe it. I definitely believe that it can be true in many circumstances. And I've seen it play out in thousands and thousands of people. Deborah says carbs and starches were extremely bad for my gut. Yet there are some keto foods that aren't that great for it either. It's a learning process forever. There you go. Exactly. There's no magic, there's no magic dogma template out there that's going to work for everyone, unfortunately. All right. Little Big Head says tips for penny pinching student trying to buy the right keto foods. That's an interesting question. All right. Are you still here? Let's see. Where'd you go? Little Big Head 15 wants tips for a penny pinching student trying to buy the right keto foods. Here's what I want you to do, Little Big Head. Send me your email. I talked earlier about the Ketogenic Edge Cookbook, a training manual for low carbohydrate, ketogenic, and paleo cuisine. And every once in a while in one of these live hangouts, I like to kind of give back and hook up a member of the audience with a free copy of our cookbook. My wife worked on this for over a year and a half. We call it a training manual for low carbohydrate, ketogenic, and paleo cuisine, because that's what it freaking is. It's a training manual. So Little Big Head, this book is full of tips for both saving money and making nutrient-dense food in bulk. It's essentially we made it for our clients and for people like us. All the macros in it are fat loss friendly, and we teach you how to adjust the macros. I want you to check out this book, put your email in the chat here, and receive your free book in the email. And I think that's what I can do for you now. I hope that helps, man. I know it will. There's actually an entire resources section that was there to help people source nutrient-dense whole foods. So yeah, you're a student. That's awesome that you're trying keto. You're trying to take care of yourself. You're taking responsibility for your health. Shoot, when I was a student, I had no idea how to feed myself, right? Ryan Goss, that's funny. All right, got your email, man. Your book's on the way. Look out for an email from me, Little Big Head. Penny Pinch and Student, free ebook in the mail on the way to you. So for those of you who are interested in the Ketogenic Edge cookbook, that's available exclusively on our website. That's available exclusively on our website. You're going to find it only on our website. You will not find it anywhere else. You're not going to find it on Amazon. You're not going to find it anywhere else. So check that out, primaledgehealth.com. For those of you who are watching and want to check it out. And Little Big Head, I hope that helps for you, man. All right, let's see. Super Kahoy, what's up? Says I've been doing keto on and off for 5 years. I've lost and gained 30 to 40 pounds multiple times. Do you think there's big risk in doing this? Also, any advice on not binging out after 6 months off keto? All right. So the yo-yo thing, losing and gaining the same 30 to 40 pounds over and over again. The diet is obviously not doing it for you. I mean, I'm sorry, but I mean, the yo-yo dieting thing, no one information on, oh, eat this food, don't eat that food, is going to actually do it for you. I mean, there's something going on there that's triggering our mind and physiology to jump back into these old habits. So if you do keto for 6 months, then every time you jump off of it and you binge and you bounce back, your body's used to that old state. Your body's used to that old habits. We're creatures of habit. So we have to realize that it takes a long time to actually reformat our entire habit structure. 6 months might not be enough for you. If you got more than 30 to 40 pounds to lose, 6 months isn't long enough. We've got to find strategies to change our life, to change our habits, change our automatic reactions. So we've got to work on things like stress reduction, on building solid habits of nutrient-dense foods, of preparing our own foods that allows us not to go and binge on the junk food crap. So prepare your own foods would be one of the first things. Stop eating out all the time. Stop relying on other people to prepare foods for you. Take responsibility. That'd be the first one. But I mean, I don't know. I mean, just from your comment there, the yo-yo dieting 30 to 40 pounds, it's something I've seen a lot. It usually has something to do with some sort of something going on inside of us, an addictive cycle to these habits. and like unconscious self-destructive patterns that we can have ingrained in us. Maria Monteleone says, finally was able to catch you live. What's up, Maria? All right, let's see what else. Okay. Wow. All right. Thanks to everybody for tuning in. We got lots of people watching. I should probably wrap this up soon. I feel like I've been talking for a long time. All right. DJ Adams says, Tristan, let's say you need 100 grams of protein per day. How much protein will take to get your body into gluconeogenesis in this example? Look at all the studies on gluconeogenesis and protein substrate infusion. They did studies where they injected gluconeogenic amino acids straight into the bloodstream. Didn't affect gluconeogenesis at all. Gluconeogenesis is not a demand, is not a substrate-driven process. It is a demand-driven process according to all the data and literature out there, especially on diabetics. So first of all, you got to look at overfeeding studies on diabetics, especially with protein. Increasing protein levels in most diabetics, type 1 and type 2. I'm actually talking about type 2 here. Across the board, results in improved glycemic response to all foods, improved blood sugar control, increased satiety, and usually fat loss. So all these people out there having you freak out, gluconeogenesis is going to occur if you eat too much protein. Ask them what the parameters are. Because first of all, they're not even defining what too much protein is. So I usually like to go by the scientific literature, and I'm not a science thumper by any means. I understand what science is. It's a process of exploration of our reality and the quantification of physical processes through trial and error, through hypothesis and testing a hypothesis, and through testing where we're wrong. That's what science is. It's not the word of God, right? But when you look at the scientific literature on ketogenic diets, like Volek and Finney, hundreds of studies that have been done by those guys, the art and science of low carbohydrate living, the art and science of low carbohydrate performance, protein intake is not based on some guru's dogma online. Protein intake should be based on your lean body mass. So about 0.8 grams per pound of your lean body mass is in the safe spectrum for a ketogenic diet as laid out in the scientific literature by Volek and Finney. So I usually go for that because that's on the safe, it's on the higher end of the safe spectrum. Still totally safe on a ketogenic diet, not going to make you oxidize protein for energy. You have to understand this. It is very energy expensive to use protein as a fuel substrate. Overeating on protein does not cause fat storage. Let me tell you again, overfeeding protein doesn't cause fat storage. It takes a lot of enzymatic process, a lot of energy, a lot of ATP to take protein and then convert it to glucose, right? First of all, you only have a small amount of gluconeogenic amino acids that you can make glucose from. That doesn't mean that they all automatically get turned into glucose and there's some magic switch that's like, ooh, that's more protein than I needed. That bite gets turned to chocolate cake. That's nonsense. The people who are putting this information out there haven't studied human physiology or human metabolism or basic biology. This is 10th grade biology stuff. So extra protein doesn't turn to fat and get stored. That's not how it works. Gluconeogenesis is a demand-driven process, and that demand can be influenced by certain factors, insulin resistance and stuff like that seems to have an effect on the demand, and it's not so simple as a few extra bites of protein turns to glucose, right? So stay within that ketogenic range, about 1.5 to 1.7 grams per kilogram of your lean body mass, or 0.8 grams per pound of your lean body mass is a great amount of protein for most people. Don't worry about the gluconeogenesis fear porn. These are tactics for people to confuse you and profit off of you. All right. Finding Emily says, yes, I'm learning that I've got to love the process. Father's Day is coming up in New Zealand. I lost my dad 4 months ago. Historically, I deal by eating sugar. Learning how to change that in me, it's a process. Absolutely, Emily. So you see, like, what's going on, right? I mean, we have a choice. So it's a choice rather to run to the sugar, to drug with opiates, or to opiate ourselves with the pasta, right? We regulate our physiology using these things. And a lot of us have learned to use food as a drug and we don't even know it. So my condolences with your father. I know the grief process can make it really hard to make healthy choices for some people, but it doesn't have to. It can be a healing process, and it obviously is for you. So I'm really excited that you're embarking on this journey and you're connecting more, listening to your body. And yeah, it's like, what is the result of binging on sugar? The result usually is feeling a little bit more inflamed. Sometimes we feel guilty. If we think that it's bad what we're doing and we do it anyways, we're going to feel guilt, shame, self-flagellation. Our conscience will gnaw at us. We want to avoid that. That's all stress. Anytime our conscience is bothering us, the face gets all twisted up, get that screw face, the gut tightens up, the digestion gets poor. This creates inflammation and stress. Little Big Head. Little Big Head stoked to get his book. All right, man. Little Big Head, that's coming to you. Tony Martin. No, that's not, the book was not for you. I'm not saying I'm giving a book to everybody. I was giving it to the one individual. I don't know. Sometimes I like to throw out a little bonus surprise out there. For those of you who are interested in the cookbook, who are interested in the Ketogenic Edge cookbook, a training manual for low carbohydrate, ketogenic, and paleo cuisine, you can find that at primaledgehealth.com. I'm not going to give out any more free copies. Every once in a while, I like to throw one out there for somebody for a special purpose. You just gotta like to hook someone up. How good does it feel to have somebody randomly hook you up, right? It feels good in the right circumstances. Not if somebody's begging, oh, poor me. Like, he didn't come here begging, like, oh, I have no money and complain. How do I get good food? He's like, hey, I'm a student. I'm trying to maximize my life. I'm hungry for more life. That's why I want to hook you up, man. Enjoy it. Mutant Stoner wants to get the book soon. Cool, man. If you guys can't afford it, check out the free stuff on the website. We've got loads of free recipes, loads of free content, loads of free videos out there that will help you guys immensely. All right. Arsh says, thoughts on potassium citrate supplementation. Potassium citrate can be fantastic. I actually use it sometimes. I'm not getting enough potassium from the diet. Potassium citrate can be useful. Actually, when they did a ketogenic diet for children years ago, epileptic children were some of the first test subjects for ketogenic diets. And one of the issues that they could run into, these epileptic kids, first of all, is growth issues. That's why they needed 80% fat, because the diet was meant to mimic fasting. You can't just fast a 6-year-old kid who's growing. You're going to create all kinds of health issues and long-term issues in their development. It's like if one of my kids, yeah, all right, so I wouldn't put a child on a ketogenic diet naturally because it's going to restrict their hunger. You don't want to do that. So 80% fat became the dogma there. Let's see. I just read like 5 comments and I forgot what I was talking about. Oh, yeah. One of the issues with that diet could be kidney stones. The kids wouldn't be that hungry. They didn't drink enough water. They weren't getting enough micronutrients. And kidney stones became an issue for some of them. They found that a few grams of potassium citrate could alleviate that and could help the kidneys out. So I think it can be useful. The dose makes the toxin. Snoo World says, love your channel and the real info. Keep it up. Thanks, man. All right. Tony Martin says, I'm finding out that my meals are high in fat, high in protein, and hardly any carbs, maybe 4 carbs a day. If that, I think the highest I got was 14 carbs. Is that bad? What's high fat? What's high protein? We have to, but I mean, look, if your carbs are only 4 grams net carb per day or 14 grams net carb, it might not be a bad thing. I mean, you're just saying carbs. Like, what are carbs? Like, not all carbs are the same. Not all proteins are the same. Not all fats are the same. Heather Anderson says, love that book. Little Big Head says, I've always wanted that cookbook. Once I saw you guys completed it. Little Big Head, right on, man. I'm glad to hook you up, man. I hope you enjoy it. Let's see what else. Timote says, I can't believe I made it to a hangout 2 times in a row. Best regards for you and your family. Timote, where are you, man? You got a great name. Timote Malnarich. All right. Mark Dudley says, hi, Tristan. I want to give keto a try, but I'm worried it will make my gout worse. Any thoughts? Gout. inflammatory response in the body. It can be painful. Now, I want you to do yourself a favor. Rather than just taking my word for it, coming to me and think, oh, keto, you're like a guru. You're on YouTube. You must know everything. Question what I say, right? Question what everybody says. I'd like you to search in Google, ketogenic diet gout study, and find the scholarly article in PubMed, perhaps, about ketogenic diet as a treatment for gout. Very effective treatments in the study, can be very beneficial. Get your electrolytes in. Sodium, magnesium, and potassium, especially the potassium, going to be very important. All right. Mutant Stoner, what's up? Says he's behind the book soon. Deborah Wattenberg. All right. Slovenia. Yeah, man. Slovenia. Maria Monteleone. Tristan, why do women lose hair on keto? Women don't lose hair on keto. Women lose hair on every diet. Look at any diet there is. Why am I losing hair on a low-calorie diet? Why am I losing hair on a low-fat diet? Why am I losing hair on a keto diet? Hair loss could be many different things. Can be from stress. Also can be from decreased thyroid function from caloric restriction for an extended period of time. A ketogenic diet does not in and of itself cause hair loss. That is not a fact. Well, it is a fact that it doesn't cause hair loss. Neither does a low-fat diet. It's about context. So if you're stressing the body out too much from heavy caloric restriction long-term, of course, some hair loss can be an alarming thing. But yeah, you should be all right if you're getting enough calories in. I mean, if you're just looking on the internet, oh, why do I get hair loss from this diet, that diet? Every single diet you see out there that's popular, you're going to see as a side effect from some people saying, I got hair loss. These people are restricting their calories, stressing themselves out. Thyroid function will slow down. And maybe it's summertime and it's a natural time when humans will lose some more hair and shed some more of that hair. All right. Catherine Joe, what's up? Catherine Joe says, I bought your cookbook last week. I'm a raw food chef and I've turned to keto. In 1 year, I've released 40 pounds of fat. Now, how do I rectify my raw recipes? All right. So, Catherine, you probably noticed from the cookbook and from the tools that we recommend in there too, our use of an Excalibur hydrator, our focus and our celebration of nutrient-dense, local, organic produce. We also, at one time, were really into like raw food prep. So you check out the flax crackers recipes and stuff in there. But yeah, I mean, your dates and stuff like that, the dates that you used to eat so many of, the dried bananas that you'd put in like cookies and things like that. Hey, sorry, but that's not going to be a part of your keto diet. The way you reconcile that is through actually adapting to it, dropping your hunger levels and letting your palate change and enjoying the benefits long-term. You got to keep going. You've already lost 40 pounds of fat in the last year. Take those old raw recipes and experiment. Use the cookbook as a template and just keep expanding your knowledge on how to use these tools. All right. Snoo World says, thanks for the shout out and the info on the keto diet for children. I was considering it for our daughter. Now I think I need to research it further to make up my mind. Ooh, yeah. Man, I got an email like a couple weeks ago from somebody who, I'm not going to go into really the details of it, but it was kind of disturbing. This person was talking about all the dietary things they're forcing on their children, intermittent fasting, keto for like growing kids, self-diagnosing them with low growth hormones somehow. I mean, this email was really alarming to me, and I mean, it was just a random email from somebody. And of course, I'm not a doctor. I'm not here to give medical advice. I'm not a pediatrician. I'm not approved by the medical priesthood or, by the mighty FDA, USDA, American Heart Association, and these corporate organizations who rubber stamp information and who are, allowed to dictate what is true and what is reality. I'm not a part of that structure. So don't ask me for that medical advice, but man, I would never put my children on a ketogenic diet for long term. There, maybe days where my kids don't eat very many carbohydrates. They'll naturally carb restrict sometimes, but they're growing. There's nothing wrong with carbohydrates. They have their place, especially seasonally. So what we do is we prepare keto foods for us. Our kids eat fats in abundance. You know, we give, if they want to drink heavy whipping cream, that's good. We give them fresh, raw cream all the time. Grass-fed cream, grass-fed butter, fish, seafood, fatty cuts of meat. They love it. They enjoy these fatty foods. Cod livers, beef liver, beef heart. They love these foods. They crave them. So they eat our low-carb foods. Plus, they eat more carbohydrates too. We give them their carrots and beets, and they can have, they sometimes enjoy vegetable juices, stuff like that. I think a lot of these things can be fine in context and great for kids. Fruits, vegetables, I'm not going to deny my children those. Now, things that I do avoid are, some of the obvious across the board inflammatory foods, the grains, the wheat, soy, corn, the enslavement foods, the slave feed foods. We don't give that to them. We give them a healthy human diet, not a, slave grain and wheat diet. Graham says, I have more indigestion on keto. Why is this? What is keto to you? I don't know what you're eating. You could have indigestion because you could be eating one food that disagrees with you in some way. You could be having indigestion because you already had bacterial overgrowth and GERD symptoms or SIBO symptoms or stuff like that before. It could be your body going through a healing process. It could be your body being exacerbated in some way by something you're eating. So you're going to have to experiment and figure out what it is that's bothering you. There's no, keto causes this or keto causes that, or low carb or high carb does this. There's 1,000 different low carb foods that you could be eating, or high carb foods that you could be eating that could exacerbate gut issues and, just inflammation in general. Dustin says, definitely need to try some ground heart. Yes, ground heart is so good. Actually, in the Ketogenic Edge cookbook, there's an entire section on how to use organ meats. An entire section on how to use organ meats, how to use the most valued parts of the animal. So check that out. There's a lot of simple recipes, really good introduction for anybody trying to revamp their health, even people on non-keto diets, right? Our daughter taste tested almost all of these recipes. Let's see. Getting Skype messages here. All right. Joy Taylor says, every morning I eat some of Jessica's keto flatbreads. This recipe is God sent. It works perfectly for my sensitive body. Eventually going to get the book and start to broaden my diet. Fantastic. Joy, thanks for enjoying it. I'm glad you enjoy it. There's loads of other free recipes on our website as well. And a lot of free stuff on our channel. We've got hundreds of videos. So, I talk about the book on here relatively often because my wife worked her butt off on it. It's a fantastic resource. And, this is what keeps this gig going. It's the support from the viewers like you supporting us here at PBS. But really, it's your support that keeps this going, that makes this worthwhile. I love being able to put out all this free information and give my time to this. So if you appreciate it, if you enjoy it, check out the cookbook. Take a step further. If you can't afford it, it's only $20. It's available exclusively on our website, and the link's down below in the description of this video. But if you can't afford it, there's loads of free recipes on our website too. A lot of them are from the Ketogenic Edge cookbook. Tamara says she wants to see the biscuits. Where are they at? They're in the oven, Tamara. Cheesy zucchini biscuits coming up in the next book from her baked goods book. All right, Tina says, I don't eat pork. What's another good source of fat besides bacon for breakfast? Believe it or not, I also don't eat bacon. We also don't have pork in our house. Great sources of fat. First of all, if you're doing keto for fat loss, the main macro that you want to focus on is protein for satiety. Of course, fat will come with your protein sources, but any fatty cuts of meat, even just simple ground beef can be great. Eggs, fantastic source, well-rounded sources of protein and fats in the morning. Eggs, fish, all this stuff. Omelets, make yourself an omelet, a little bit of goat cheese, maybe some sardines in there, or just, a little bit of goat cheese and olives. I can't hear you, baby. You want to come up here and talk, you can, but I can't. If you yell over me, it doesn't work. All right. Dustin says, aside from the obvious negative health effects of tobacco, how can tobacco use affect keto? I have no idea. That's a great question. That's a really good question. Don't know. Tamika says, beef heart is delicious, especially prepared as antichuchos, which is a Peruvian dish. Choose to Feel says, unrelated, what do you think of the therapeutic use of MDMA? It's promising, obviously. You look at the work that MAPS has done. I think it's funny that they pick MDMA as, the main one. I'm not a big fan of MDMA as a substance in general. You've seen like the PTSD studies and stuff like that. The therapeutic use of MDMA seems to have some beneficial, long-lasting effects, but you can also get those same effects by they did a study at Camp Pendleton where they used surfing and getting into what people call flow states right now, which is basically just a state of being aware and awake like human beings normally are when we're moving around in the natural world, like running through the woods, swimming in the open seas, stuff like that. That flow state, basically a state where you're not constantly, looking at your thoughts and analyzing everything and looking for threats. It's just boom, 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 boom reaction. So getting people into those flow states through surfing had similar effects as MDMA. I'm not a fan of MDMA as a substance as far as like, potential neurotoxicity, long-term serotonergic, just effects on dopamine receptors and stuff like that. I don't know. It's like, why aren't they using, so MDMA is an analog of the mescaline molecule that Shulgin came up with. Why aren't they using mescaline? It's a much cleaner substance, potentially a little bit more rough of a ride, but yeah, I don't know. Look, if you'd asked me this, 10, 20 years or 10 years ago when I was in high school or when I was in university experimenting with a lot of these things, shoot, I thought maybe if you could just dose everybody with certain substances, then everybody would be forced to look at themselves and consider their actions in the world, right? Because I had certain experiences with some of these substances. I don't like the word psychedelics. I don't like the word entheogens. Don't like any of these terms that have been used because they're all loaded, right? But man, there was a time when I thought, shoot, if somebody would just give me a squirt gun full of LSD, um, I could change the world. I thought that's a lot of people when they first use something like that, they first try magic mushrooms or something like that. It's like, everybody needs to experience this and the world will be better. But then it's funny because when you actually look at the trajectory of change in a lot of these people's lives, you look at, what's going on at Burning Man, for instance, right? Bunch of people getting together in the desert in this giant occult ritual developed by, you look at the history of Burning Man, it's super funny, super interesting. But, this giant occult ritual in the middle of the desert, all based around drugs and sex, right? So it's like these drugs and these ecstatic states can be used to elevate us in certain ways and to allow us to make choices with how we're going to live when we come down. But they can also be used as a big carnival distraction for the flashing lights and for people just to get high and hump like animals and be turned into subhumans, right? Huxley wrote at the end of this book he had called The Devils of Loudon. Aldous Huxley, who, was big in the social engineering circles in the 40s and 50s. His brother Julian Huxley was, and his father was intimately connected with a lot of British secret societies, as well as Charles Darwin. So, his family is deeply ingrained in the Anglo-American establishment, kind of notorious for being eugenicists, right? Wanting to cull the masses and control the genetic heritage of the population. Very, very interesting stuff. But Aldous Huxley wrote at the end of this book about transcendence. And he actually listed 3 different types of transcendence. Somebody's asking if I've heard of Jan Irvin. Yeah, from that Gnostic media guy, Jan Irvin. I've definitely seen a lot of his stuff. And a lot of my research over the years has coincided with his stuff. He's right on about many things. Sometimes he jumps the gun and guilt by association stuff and oversimplifies, but a lot of his stuff can be right on. Anyways, Huxley said that you can basically turn people into subhumans by getting them into ecstatic states. But I actually jumped the gun there. He mentioned 3 different types of transcendence. You've got vertical transcendence, upward transcendence, which allows us to throw off the chains of mere humanity and actually connect to the ground of all being, to what people call the divine. whatever. And then you've got downward transcendence, which basically turns people into subhuman animals. People are apes. You get programmed with this in society, right? Like, oh, we're just monkeys. We're just monkeys. This is the programming in the modern world. But downward transcendence, and then there's horizontal transcendence, right? People who get hobbies, people who spend their time finding meaning in life, but it really doesn't lead them any higher or any lower. It just kind of keeps them, I identify with my marriage, or I identify with this car that I drive, or my job, or I'm this or that. I'm a lawyer, I'm a CPA, I'm a guy on YouTube, I'm an internet thing, or whatever it is. That's horizontal transcendence. Now, any tool like MDMA, like you're talking about, can result in any one of those states, right? You can result in somebody taking it and going downward transcendent, was what Huxley talked about. Talks about crowd delirium being one of the most dangerous forms of this. When a lot of people get in big groups, they basically lose their mind and they can become easily suggestible and manipulated. So, rock concerts, gladiator fights, stuff like that. Spectacle, crowd delirium. He says it's one of the most dangerous ones because you don't get a come down. In fact, people feel righteous the next day, right? Lynch mob mentality. You see it in the streets being, the media is hyping this up now. They do it every few decades. They did it in the 90s with the Rodney King thing. They did it in the 60s to derail the civil rights movement. They're doing it again now to derail any legitimate political protest and any legitimate discussion on the real problems at hand that affect all of us. Right? So they divide you up in these little stupid tribes, get you to fight amongst yourselves. Anyways, MDMA can result in downward transcendence. You see that in Burning Man, right? People going humping in the desert, putting on their, little trinkets for 7 days and pretending they're somewhere else, right? Nobody's any better for it. People leave. Everything keeps going. Actually, Silicon Valley is intimately tied in with this, and interesting stuff. But then you've also got horizontal transcendence and vertical transcendence. Some people could take a substance like that, like MDMA, and get a little bit more space from the things that are making them feel like crap all the time, right? A little bit more space from the post-traumatic stress disorder symptoms, from the repeating thoughts, from the triggers that are constantly putting them in a state of fight or flight. And then they can make a decision. They can say, oh, wow, every time this happens, this is my automatic reaction. But right now I'm able to decide. And then they can move forward. And sometimes people can get, vertical transcendence from that, actually becoming something more than the fractured self that they're trying to heal. Now, what MAPS is doing, I think a lot of the studies are promising. I think it can be used for people's benefit, but also you got to look at the bread and circuses side of it as well. I mean, these substances have been around for thousands of years. Banning these substances like, cannabis restriction, prohibition, and stuff like that. It's another one of these funny issues where it's just like, it obviously, no plant. It should be, it is up to us. It is our God-given right to decide what we put in our body, what we do with our mind, what we accept as truth, and what we say and what we believe. That's our God-given right. Gives that to you. That's ingrained in the essence of life. So to tell people you can't take this substance, it's bad, it's ridiculous. So there's obviously this huge cultural backlash. We're going to fight the man. We're going to fight the man. The man doesn't want us using this and that. And then finally they start trickling out legalization. You get MAPS. They're allowed to do a few studies with MDMA, stuff like that. And it just trickles out. It's like people have been using these substances for thousands of years. Prohibition does nothing to stop their use. It just makes it more dangerous and it fills the prisons up. So, prohibition is retarded. It's ridiculous. It retards the growth of civilization. But at the same time, if you just let everybody go out there, if you could walk into Walmart and buy a gallon of pure LSD, that's super dangerous. You can that's not safe. So you got to understand. I understand both sides of it. Anyways, I don't know. MDMA. Sure, it could be useful for some people, but also just lifestyle changes and actually changing your mind is what's important. It's not like, oh, I took the pill and it worked. It's like, oh, took my happy pill. Now I'm not PTSD anymore. Now I'm not so neurotic. Now I'm making a choice to truly live and to face what it is that I need to heal. It's more like it opens you up and it allows you to actually make that choice. It doesn't make the choice for us. It doesn't do the work for us. So yeah, set and setting, I guess. Boxa says, you don't want to go, let's see. All right. Andrew says, not sure if you covered this already. Does keto cause a fatty liver? I talked about that earlier. Rewind to the beginning. High carb intake, extended periods of overfeeding on carbohydrate can cause insulin resistance and fatty liver, insulin resistance in the liver. Keto, high fat intake in the absence of carbohydrate, can cause physiological insulin resistance in the muscle tissues. All right. Little Big Head says MAPS should be paying more attention to things like mescaline and psilocybin, like he was saying. Yeah, exactly. But of course, pharmaceutical companies, stuff like that, they want something patentable, right? That's why Shogun was out there making all these analogs. You know, I mean, you take all these analogs and you try to patent it. I don't know. Yeah, why isn't MAPS just using a pure mescaline extract? That would be it's far smoother on the body. Maybe it's a rougher ride, harder to guide these individuals, but yeah, MDMA is just an analog of the mescaline molecule anyways. Tamara says, what are your thoughts on GABA supplementation? Most GABA supplements won't cross the blood-brain barrier. Phenibut, Phenibut, is one that is bioavailable, developed in Russia, and that will cross the blood-brain barrier. However, that supplement can result in like dependence, mostly psychological, I think. I've taken it for I took it for like a week, stopped, didn't feel any withdrawal symptoms, though some people have taken it and experienced withdrawal symptoms. So, not perfect for everybody. Phenibut, tread lightly, use it with caution, right? If you can handle it, if you can control your intake, then that can be an interesting one to play with, and it's, you know, still legal in the USSA. John Titor says, asked earlier, but it disappeared before you got to it. I'm doing keto and intermittent fasting, walk 12 miles a day, and do 2 hours in the gym. I get stuffed eating 1,300 to 1,500 calories a day. Is this safe? All right. Are you sleeping well? When you wake up in the morning, are your hormones right? Are you standing at attention when you wake up sometimes? Most of the time. You know, if you're not stressed out about it, if it's not pushing your body over the edge and you're recovering, obviously your goal is body fat, right? I'm assuming your goal is body fat because you're doing keto plus IF and walking 12 miles a day and doing 2 hours in the gym. I mean, that is excessive. That's more than I do. But every context is different, right? So I'd say most people can probably do with a little bit less than, you don't need 2 hours in the gym, especially every day. If you're doing 2 hours in the gym a week, it's probably enough for you. Walking 12 hours, doing intermittent fasting and keto, I don't know if that's too much, man. I don't know if that's not enough calories for you to eat. But if you're stuffed and you feel satisfied and you're recovering and your hormonal profile is stable and you're feeling good, you got energy throughout the day and you're loving life, yeah, you're probably good. Farts for weight loss. Farts for weight loss says, Tristan, you're quite an inspiration, mate. Your life and your philosophies. Excellent. Interesting. Thank you, Farts for weight loss. I am my own biggest critic. All right. Let's see. Andrew says, thanks again for doing these videos and hangouts. Wishing you a great rest of the week. You too, man. Have a good one. Fruit and Sport says, I have a strong feeling it will help a lot with a high-fat diet. What will help a lot? I don't know. Fruit and Sport. All right. Fruit and Sport says, been vegan for 7 years, but truly not working for me. All right. Whoa. What we got here?
Biscuits are here.
Biscuits is here.
It's a cheesy zucchini biscuit made with coconut flour, Parmesan cheese, shredded zucchini. I added turmeric and black pepper, and there's a little bit of garlic powder on top.
Wow, that smells amazing. Smell it, guys. Yes. You smell it? Amazing, right? Look at that. Look at that mama face. That I haven't slept in 5 days face. But still radiant and gorgeous. What's up, Ario? Ariana wants one. And she takes it and bounces. Like those look so good. I'd eat one right now, but I'm going to wait to eat for a little bit until dinner time. Oh, it smells so good. I can feel it on my fingers. They're all oily now. Oh. Hey, you know what a really great stress reduction strategy is? Just focusing on your sense of smell in general. Just throwing this out there, talking about stress reduction here a lot. Your sense of smell when you get stressed out, when you talk too much, like I do when I do these live hangouts, when you talk too much, or when you're doing a lot of stressful activity, or if you have poor posture and not able to connect to your diaphragm, simply nice, shallow breathing, breathing deeply into the diaphragm, into the belly. So I say shallow because it's not a, but just like when you're smelling stuff, you know, stop and smell the roses kind of thing. That is a way to literally de-stress yourself. To just focus on your sense of smell is going to slow down the breath, slow down the heart. Oh, Jessica, we got poop slinging everywhere. Yeah. Ryder walked up here and pooped. Thanks, Jessica. All right. I think that's probably, I think I should make my exit, right? I gotta leave on a bang. Leave on a crap. Choose to Feel says, wow, thanks for the MDMA chat. Always love to hear your point of view. I would love if you do videos on deeper spiritual topics such as God and the Bible. You know, this is not a spiritual channel, but Choose to Feel. I love the name. Choose to Feel, right? It is a choice. We can choose to feel. We can choose to feel through this vessel. And sometimes what we feel gets so clogged up that we don't even think we have a choice, but we really do. We truly have a choice in every moment, whether we want to attach to that stress, to freak out and let ourselves get all tense about the world, or get embittered by the world, or get stirred up against our neighbors, stirred up against our fellow man, and dehumanize people through the news media like they're doing now, right? Everyone's either a pussy SJW or a racist Nazi bigot fascist. You know, I mean, just the constant barrage of all this hatred and anger and all this stuff that comes us through the news media. I mean, one of the first things a lot of us need to do is just turn that filth off and talk to people, right? Form meaningful relationships. Slow it down. Breathe through your nose. Stop and smell the baby poop on your floor. All right. I'm gonna get going. Farts for weight loss says, I got Lyme disease, trying to do keto to lose fat, but also because there's been a lot of talk about patients with Lyme feeling great on keto. Literally the best invention to date. Congratulations on taking control. It's your choice, right? It's like you get the diagnosis of Lyme disease, or you get this diagnosis, that. I can either bow down to it, like, poor me, like, oh, what am I gonna do? This sucks. And you know, sometimes we do that in moments, and then we catch ourselves and can pull ourselves out of it. But I think it's far more productive for us to actually say, okay, here's what it is. This is what's going on. This is the reality of my situation, and I have a choice how I react. I can either turn myself into a victim and play the weak, helpless victim, you know, like a little child crying for his mom's titties, and play that helpless child victim. Somebody come help me. Or we can stand up and we can make choices to actually take control of our situation and live the most meaningful, beautiful life within those circumstances that are dictated to us, right? Because we don't choose all of our circumstances. We choose how we react, though. You know, it's like we all got to die. Every one of us. It's like the very fact that we were born implies our imminent demise, our imminent death, the death of the vessel we live in, you know? So the question's not whether we're going to die or not. The question is whether we're going to live meaningfully, passionately, and righteously, or die complaining and crying and blaming everyone else for our situation, right? Boxa says pack mentality, right? Get out of the pack mentality. I mentioned that article from Huxley earlier about crowd delirium. And he says that there's not there. The most sure way to dehumanize large groups of people is to put them in big crowds with flashing lights, loud music. It makes them highly suggestible and can bring them down to the most low of low human states, right? Lynch mobs, stuff like that. It's a choice whether to join the mob, whether to join the pack, or to stand our ground Take a deep breath. Take stock of our faculties that we do have. Take stock of the choices that we can make and start making those choices to better ourselves, to better our communities, to better our relationship with the truth that we know in our heart, our relationship with the Creator, our relationship with life, relationship with our families and friends. It's our choice whether we want to heal those or blame everyone else and blame circumstance and be helpless victims. All right. Everybody, thanks for watching. Remember, our health is our. No one taught us how to eat growing up. If we're from the Western world, no one taught us how to eat. So we got to take responsibility and actually train ourselves into a new set of habits to form a body, mind, and lifestyle that's worth living, that we can thrive in, that we can enjoy. You can find more at primaledgehealth.com. I want you to check out the Ketogenic Edge Cookbook at primaledgehealth.com. There's a link in the description of this video. Thanks to everybody for watching. Thanks to everybody for putting their comments here. Thank you so much for enjoying it. Now get off the computer. Get off your phone. Get away from screens. Get away from television. Breathe through your nose. Stop and smell the baby poop. Later, guys.